are these people?
Who are these people? Hi, everyone. Welcome back to INN One-on-One, and it's Indy. And I'm here with a super special guest, longtime friend of the network, friend of the show, another independent media personality who you've been watching for years, and I was watching for years before I started doing this, and that would be Chanda Masta from Trailer Park Pundit and Beauty and the Boomer.
Hi, Andy. Good to be here. Glad we actually could connect. I'm so sorry I canceled on you last week, but it was necessary.
That happens. So for those who don't know, Chanda has been an independent media champion for years, and there are not honestly enough women in independent media. You did a whole vignette, I remember, with Oz and Linda about there aren't enough, basically all showcasing all the women in independent media. And God, how long is it? Like a 45-second video? I mean, and some of those people aren't even doing it anymore.
I know, it's 1:30 actually, the full one, where we went in and we added every the women that we respected in the independent media space. But we have a couple of shorter versions that, like, I run at the Trailer Park Pundit. But you're right, there's quite a few on there that don't even stream anymore. But oddly enough, not most women don't engineer their own show. I'm unique in the fact that I can engineer my own show and put it out. Most of the women that are working in the independent media space work with an engineer or a team that help get their show up and produced and actually live streamed. But I'm lucky to have an amazing partner in the Wizard of Oz, Rick LaFave, and he started out as my engineer, but he taught me. I was one of those I want to hands-on, and that and Oz was, I could see him getting worn out because he was engineering for the Convo Couch and so many other shows, and I wanted to take that off his plate of having an extra show. So he taught me, and I went and I learned. God, I learned all the studios, OBS and Streamlabs, and now we're using vMix, which I absolutely love. It's very high end. I mean, it would be something that the network studios would be using, but it allows me to do everything and anything I need to do. And so I'm proud that I'm one of the only women that can actually engineer my own show
and produce and edit and do so many different things. And yeah, there are not nearly enough. So if you're a woman looking to do this, here's somebody who's actually taken the time to learn it and do it well and successfully. We've
offered to help or have women come to Roar Media. We fly under the banner of Roar Media with all of our different shows. And for years, we've said, if you are a woman and you got something to say, you've got an idea, come to us. We will teach you. We're a nonprofit. We'll help you in any way we can to, get your voice out there. If we got to engineer your show, or if you want us to teach you how to do a show, we'll help you with graphics, with openers, with closers, with music. We do all of it. So yeah, I mean, that's really when we created Roar Media, that was our vision, was to help get independent women voices out there.
Yeah, which aligns so well with with the vision of how INN was created, which was to help smaller independents who don't have the resources to do all of it, to give them a team, to give them people who would be able to share their content and bounce stuff off of, because it's really hard to do this from scratch without knowing anybody or anything about it. So
I started with a laptop and my partner's gaming headset, and now I have 5 monitors.
Oh my God!
The highest tech in cameras and lights and audio. We have a saying in the industry: audio is Satan, and it really is. It's the devil. It really is. But yeah, no, it's amazing how far I've came in the last 6 years with streaming.
But yeah, so my first question usually when I sit down with my favorite creators and friends for this is, how did we end up having this conversation? That, from your journey through streaming to us kind of coming together. I think it was after the U.S. Solutions Summit and over March for Medicare for All, and organizing for that, and to me now modding your channels when I go watch, all the shows and how and your philosophy behind that. So just kind of share with everyone your whole journey through, and I'll let you talk. And yeah.
Wow. Okay, so this is how it started out for me. 2015. I'm a recovering opiate addict. I was a single mom, 3 kids, working my ass off at dead end, minimum wage jobs my whole adult life to keep a roof over my head. I'm living literally in the worst ghetto in my town, and I look around and I see the suffering of the senior citizens, of the addicted, of the people around me, my friends, my family, and I naively still believed that my vote was my voice and it counted. And of course, I was a Democrat. I was, the Republicans are evil. The Democrats stand for the poor. And I was one of those I'm with her women, like, oh my God, it'd be great to have a woman president. She'd bring some, femininity to the White House and some compassion and humanity. That was not Hillary Clinton. And then I saw the Bernie Sanders campaigns in early 2015 kind of starting to come out. And I was like, well, I remember Bernie from, the Iraq war, voting against it. And he was a crazy, radical. And so I kind of started looking into him. And then I just got bit by the Bernie bug. And so August of 2015, I joined the Sidewalk Chalk for Bernie. And you would go around with sidewalk chalk and you would basically put Big Bernie, murals or whatever all over your town. And that is how I started. And then from there, gosh, it just snowballed for me. I went inside my local Democrats. I got elected as a Bernie delegate. I went to the state level. I started going to all of the Democratic galas and balls and fundraisers. And I was in there saying stupid shit like, we have 2 good candidates, and then come 2016 and the games start with the Democratic Party. We can see them robbing us of votes, just all of the shenanigans that they did to us in 2016.
And a lot of that got swept up. Honestly, people forget.
Oh, gosh.
Just how vicious.
People forget how
the Democratic Party,
vicious they were.
Oh my God, yeah. They were so horrible.
From convention to convention.
And these were, again, what it was these were Democratic Party like operatives and veterans who've been through a campaign, multiple campaigns and whatever, and they didn't want any of these new people coming in with different ideas and to displace everything that they had set up for years. And
they were the Obama people is really what they were. And they had, Hillary for America, and they were so well funded, and they had David Brock, and, they just had the Hillary hit team behind them. And so my county here in, I'm in a very blue state. I'm in Washington State, just outside of Seattle. We overtook our local Democratic headquarters. We're one of the few counties that has an actual headquarters in our downtown, and we're a retirement community. So there's quite a few of the boomers that are holding on to the dream of what they thought the Democrats were. So we took them head on. And we swept them. We took their committees. We beat them with a supermajority. We took every single chair in the county. And what did they do? They locked the doors and would not let us take over. Finally, the orders came down from the DNC, and people don't believe this, but the orders came down from the very top to have a new election and get rid of us. So they started simultaneously running us out of the party. Really, it's just came to my attention in the last year just how many people they sent into our county, paid operatives, to take us out and to separate us. They sent in people to set up indivisible groups to kind to quell our energy, because we had, and I'm not kidding, we had 50 to 300 people every Friday afternoon showing up to work on independent issues, whether it be homelessness, whether it be, water issues. Because remember, we were fighting no DAPL, we were fighting against the TPP, we were fighting against so many things back then. And we had such amazing energy. We were one of the counties in the whole country that scared the fuck out of the DNC. And
It was
that's
like
really
you
what it
and
was.
the one in Nevada too, right down in Vegas, because
Yeah, in Nevada.
They sent the kitchen
Nevada
sink down into there. I remember that for sure.
Yeah. And they came for us hard. They managed to split us up. But we stayed strong. We organized ourselves. I was a chair. We were very democratic. We did not Robert's rules, but a version of Robert's rules. So we would vote on everything we did. We voted to leave the Democratic Party. We issued a statement publicly to our local paper. We really went about it loudly that we were leaving the Democratic Party. And then to this day, our energy is still there. The same people, we still meet. We just launched a website last week. And I'm so proud of us. 10 years later, we're still working on local issues. So we turned our focus locally, and we started focusing on local races and local issues. We have a charter review. We're one of the few counties that has a charter review where we can actually take things to the voters. And so we really hit that hard and started getting people elected to the charter review in our county. And EMF has been a big one for us. We have quite a few doctors on our panel, and they know the dangers of this, EMFs and Wi-Fi technology that we're using. And we're all in love with our technology. Nobody wants to hear that it's bad, but it is causing a lot of issues for our children. And so that's, just one example of some of the things that we've been working on. But yeah, I'm proud to say 10 years later, we're still together. So, I did so much. I stuck with Bernie till 2020. I stayed inside that Democratic Party. I always said I was an operative behind enemy lines, because they hated me. Oh my God, the things they did to me. They would slash my tires. They would prank call me at work. Like, the Democrats were brutal to me in those years. And they just wanted me gone because I was such a powerful voice for the poor. I didn't care. I didn't have anything to lose, right? I live in a trailer park. You can't shame me. I was a recovering opiate addict. I put it out there. I had nothing to hide. I brought my skeletons with me because I knew if they got a hold of them, they'd weaponize them. So I just put them on display. And so once Bernie bowed out in 2020, it was such a just like, I'm so done playing the games with the Democratic Party. And I had always gave my vote to the Green Party, even in 2016. Of course, I went to Philadelphia. I was on the gates of the DNC. I saw all that shit. I occupied FDR Park. I was part of a media team that went in. We drove cross country. We were the Journey for Bernie, and we had 25 vehicles caravanning across the country into Philly. Yeah, it was amazing. I made lifelong friendships with that, but I got to tell you, man, it's crazy and it's hard when you put that many strong A type of personalities all together and you go, okay, go spend the next 10 days together. It was crazy. It was totally insane. But the things we saw in Philadelphia just shook me all the way through to my core. I mean, the technology they used on us to steal the video right off of our phones, being the stingrays, the amount of militarized police that they had in the streets coming at us. I remember calling home and just saying, you don't know it, but our democracy is gone. Like, you think you have a First Amendment right to get out in the streets and protest, but I saw how it was gone. And what they do is they would arrest you, they zip tie you, they'd put you on a bus in 100-degree heat in Philadelphia, and they just leave you on that bus for 9 hours, 10 hours, and then they just let you go at the end of the day. So they kept you out of the way. You weren't there to rabble rouse or get anybody else riled up. And then they didn't even have to deal with you, right? So I mean, it was stuff like that.
White
Many
noise
of our crew that
machines,
went,
right? I heard white noise
oh, white
machines.
noise
They tried to
machines. Oh
filter
my
out.
God, yeah. See, they would strategically herd us around Philadelphia because we would have multiple groups marching at the same time, and they would say, "Oh, they're going to be at this gate. They're going to be at this gate, or they're going to be at this gate. This going to be," and we were sheep. We went in there, and so all the cops would line up, 30, 40 deep at the gates, and then the gates would bust open, and they'd pepper spray all of us. It was crazy the things that our poor delegates, our delegates were treated so badly in Philly that year. Oh
And
gosh,
literally,
they
this is to
kept them
get
locked
people
down till
elected.
2:30. Yeah, they locked them down till 2:30 in the morning and wouldn't even let them out of that damn convention center. They couldn't use a bathroom. They didn't have water. I mean, the horror story. So I came home from Philly and we hosted a big meeting called Bernie and Beyond, but we brought a panel of delegates in and we sat them down and we had them tell the horror story of what they had just gone through. And you pay for everything yourself when you're a
Right.
delegate for the Democratic Party. So these people put out tens of thousands of dollars to go stay in these fancy hotels and fly across the country and to pay for all the VIP passes to all the galas and shit. And they were silenced. They weren't allowed to go sit in their seats. They had seat fillers. Like, it was just, I mean, I saw firsthand that you can't get democracy through the Democratic Party. So I did stay for another 4 years. I was an elected PCO inside the Democratic Party, which they hated. Oh my God, they hated I was elected. Yeah, they did everything they could to get me out of that chair. And I just stayed a thorn in their side. I'd show up their meetings and drop truce and just be a pain in the ass, but I wasn't getting anywhere. And so come 18 2019, I'm talking with the other Bernie people, and we're trying to let people know what we've been through, what we've seen. And we're going on other shows. I went on Real Progressive with Steve Grumbine. You remember
Grumbine
Steve, right?
mad. We call him
MMT.
Solomon
Yeah,
Grumbine.
yeah.
Love him.
Right,
Good dude.
right. John Lancelot. Oh, I love John. He kind of bowed out a long time ago, but so we were all watching the same independent media, right? I hung out with Tim Black when I was in Philly, and of course Jimmy Dore. I've been a huge Jimmy Dore fan since 2015, way back when he was on TYT, and watching these people like, well, okay, if they can do it, I can do it, right? So we got picked up by Uphill Media, which was originally Bernie TV, I think is what it was called back in 2016. So it was a YouTube channel that was called Bernie TV. And that's where you could go to watch like Bernie's speeches when he would go around, right? And so we started doing a couple of different shows. I used to do a show called No Joke. Do you remember No Joke with Amos? He was from Israel, and oh gosh,
I don't know
Marcus.
if
Marcus was in Germany.
I don't
So
remember that.
it was a really diverse panel. It was really diverse because we had a guy from Germany, a guy from Israel that was in Jersey, and then me, and then a couple other people. And I was the most progressive on the panel, right? And one time I brought up the Rothschilds. Oh my God, you thought I stole their birthday. Oh my God, they came at me. How dare you? That's so anti-Semitic to talk about the Rothschilds. Like it was so crazy. But we were allowed to launch our own shows, and Oz and I and Miss Amber King and a couple other people started a show called The Daily Dive. This was before Jackson Hinkle's The Dive, and
Oh my
we would do a half
God.
hour show every morning.
For
Yeah.
For Jackson Hinkle? Really?
Well, and then we brought Hinkle on when he dropped his first shows, and we were like, "Hey, we were the dive first, but whatever." So we had it. He came on our show. We actually sat down with Jackson Hinkle in the very beginning, many years ago. Great guy. He was nice, whatever. So we basically bowed out and gave him the name. He was growing
Wow.
fast, and we have been the dive, the daily dive for I don't know, maybe 6 months, a year, whatever. But we moved on to our other shows anyway. So yeah, we gave Jackson Hinkle the name and let him have it and let him run with it. That's a little story people don't know. And
Amazing.
yeah, so we started collaborating with so many people. The Convo Couch, those, oh my gosh, Pasta and Fee, those are our brothers and sisters. And then you had Slow News Day with Glory Jones and Steve Poikoden, and we just started buddying up, and then of course Assange. That's really when we hit the ground for Assange. Of course, Assange had been taken out of the Ecuadorian embassy by force, and if it wasn't for Julian Assange in 2016 and the Vault 7, we wouldn't have known the truth about the Democratic Party and so much more, so much more. And so we hooked up with Conrad Misty Putin, buddy. What was Misty doing back then? Was she doing bitch? I can't remember what show she was doing back then, but we all flew into Washington, D.C. many years ago for an Assange rally, and we just that was it, man. We were independent media and we were locked together, and that kind of led us to you. You started engineering for the likes of Tara Reid, and we were watching Tara and having her stop by our shows, and Misty, of course, you guys were engineering for Misty, and I think that's how we got together.
Yeah. I mean, I think even before that, I was back in 2021, I had a meeting with you and Savage Joy and Oz, of all things, that was organized by another network originally. And I just kind of sat there. I didn't really have much to say because I didn't know much. I didn't know. I had just directed or Reef did the engineering and I did the direction on this big panel discussion that had gone on for hours. And then
That's why we hate panels.
Oh yeah, they're the devil. But we're gonna do one for Aspen. We've run it. We ran one. I remember for you, and it was a big lift to get everyone kind of together. People don't realize the amount of work. Oh, it is amazing. Yeah. But the amount of work and coordination and aggravation and worrying and sleepless nights that go into making one of those happen. It's like, oh yeah, you just turn on Zoom and everybody shows up and you just talk, right? No, it takes weeks of planning and testing and audio testing. Oh, what a mess. So right after we had done our first panel discussion, I get invited to be an advisor and listen in on this phone call, and we're trying to figure out something for March for Medicare for All and streaming something. And again, I met you and Oz and Amber, I think, was there also. And it was great. We just kind of became friendly. I started following your shows, and that's when we were engineering, and Tara was part of INN at that point, and she had just had her podcast closed down by RT. And tried to figure out what to do.
That's right.
And to his credit, Oz was like the first person to step up and be like, all right, well, what are we going to do to help Tara? I'm like, I don't know. I've never really engineered and produced a third party show before like this on a regular basis. So we just kind of all figured it out. I put together a team of a graphic designer and Reef to engineer it and me to pull the whole thing together. And another Oz to engineer the live streams early on while we're still figuring it out. That's and amazing. Reef to shadow, and another guy did the podcast. And it was like all Tara had to do was show up and do the interview. And this is what you talked about that earlier, that has been the experience for a lot of women in this space, is basically they didn't have to do the behind the scenes work where they just had to show up and be the star. But
right.
The way I feel, and I think you feel the same way, true independent media means you do it yourself for the most part, or at least you know how to do all the things,
right?
Each step in the process, and have done that to know how much work is involved and to know, the kind of personality that does that well, because there's a different kind of character that edits than one that works on a
Yeah.
podcast or
I
audio.
hate editing. I hate editing. Like we would have so many shorts if I could edit, but I just I'd rather pull my nails out than, edit.
Right.
Yeah,
And then
I
it's
get it.
using the AI tools, which we have now. And to his credit, Oz is remarkable with learning. He's just a sponge. He wants to learn constantly. And
Yeah, he does.
thankfully, like you, Oz has become one of my best friends. And I get to talk to him very, almost daily. And we bounced all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff off of each other. And I love what fascinates him and the way his mind works, and he's so dedicated, and he sees the chessboard really well. That's the way
He
I kind of
does. And
describe it.
yeah,
You know,
I'm so lucky to have him as my partner and my best friend, and he's done so much for me over the last, 5, 6 years. And yeah, I've had a really bad bumpy road the last couple of years, and I'm just so thankful for the community that I have that was built leading into this terrible journey I find myself on now.
yeah. Speaking of that journey, if you are able to support Shanda's her cancer journey, and we haven't even talked about that because I want to talk about some other things before we get into that.
I
But
know, right? Might
that
be
is
negative.
that is your GoFundMe there, and if people do want to
It
support
is.
you in your GoFundMe and in your battle, they can QR code scan that. I'll have the link in the description for them to be able to support there. I'm guessing it's probably pinned to your Twitter as well, at Chanda Masta. If
Probably not.
probably not. I love it. We'll make sure if you message me, I will get you the link to the GoFundMe if you need to get your hands on that. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how you hooked up with Oz to start doing Beauty and the Boomer, and Beauty and the Boomer After Dark, and how you figured out that Saturday night was going to be the night to do that show, and all of it. Like,
Wow. Thinking about it, I don't even remember. So, yeah, we used to do morning shows. We used to do like a 9 a.m. show, I want to say. And it started out with like three or four of us. And then people kind of, people are really ambitious in the beginning, but then it gets tedious showing up every day to do something you're not getting paid to do, right? And so people kind of fall off. And Oz and I just stayed dedicated. And then, like I said, when we kind of quit doing the Daily Dive, Oz had been pushing me to do my own show. And I started, God, what was the name of it? The Accidental Activist.
activist.
Yeah, I was the accidental activist because I felt that way. I didn't set out to be an activist, I set out to support Bernie Sanders, and fast forward years later, I am this activist on the ground, fighting for so many different things. And so, yeah, I started a show, The Accidental Activist, and what I really did was I went out and started interviewing people that I would encounter. Like I sat down with Shama Sawant and like people in Wisconsin, during the whatever you want to call it, riots up there when they burned the police station to the ground. And I just started interviewing people and bringing them on my show. But then I also had this conspiracy theory slant side to it too, because I was researching stuff like Jeffrey Epstein a year and a half before Jeffrey Epstein even got arrested,
Oh,
like,
wow.
for the final time. And so trying to inform people of this stuff that was just so out there, people couldn't even wrap their mind around it. I mean, trying to get people to wrap their mind around a honeypot operation in 2017, people looked at me like I was freaking insane. And so I would do these side shows where I would go really, really in depth, like bring video and bring, pictures. And that was back when YouTube actually allowed a lot of that stuff on there, right?
Right.
And so there was a lot of good information that I could bring. And gosh, I covered so many crazy things back in those days. A lot of that video is gone now just because YouTube took it down. And then Rockfin, don't even get me started. Rockfin stole so much of our original
Oh,
video. I pretty much lost my whole body of work with no warning, thanks to Rockfin. But so I went from doing the accidental activist. I would do it like once a week or something. And I told Oz, I was like, we should do a show. We're funny together. We were. Oz and I are funny together. And so I was laying in bed pondering, like, what would we call it? What would we call it? And Oz loves Beauty and the Beast. Like, that was his show back in the day. And it just came to me. And I was like, we should do a show called Beauty and the Boomer. But boomer was such a divisive word. Oh my God, it triggered people. Like, don't you call me a boomer, whatever. But, we're making fun of ourselves. So and we started out themed. Like, we would dress up every Saturday night, like in costume, and one night would be we were gonna do a 1980s show, but I don't know, Oz showed up in some 1680s outfit. So like I mean, just stupid shit like that. But then we would cover daily politics and just the things that we were seeing in the news that we wanted to talk about and our slant on it, whether you agreed with us or not, whatever. And yeah, so that's how we got the name. Is I just called him up one day and said, hey, let's do a show called Beauty and the Boomer. And here we are 6 years later. We are going to do our 6th annual Halloween on the 25th. So we do big Halloweens at Beauty and the Boomer. We have our viewers dress up, they come into the green room, everybody gets pictures taken. And we wanted to do pulp culture into our shows too, not just straight up dry political pundits talking. We were doing the interview shows and the panel shows. We wanted to have fun with it and let our audience kind of laugh at it, right? I mean, we are in a big ass clown show, and some of this shit is pretty freaking funny, and especially during the Trump years, the beginning Trump years, and so we bring a lot of satire and a lot of comedy type. A lot of AI video, just funny stuff. And Oz is great with graphics, and he's just gotten better. You look at where our graphics were, 5 years ago to where they are now. It's freaking amazing. And the music that we like to feature artists on YouTube that, don't get enough recognition, that are doing cover songs, whatever, because we'll take copyrights if we use the actual songs. So we go and find a good artist on YouTube who's doing a good job at covering it, and we'll put their information out there. And that's led us to some amazing friendships with these amazing musicians that have a lot to say politically. Like right now, one of my favorites is Spiderland.
Sure.
These guys are amazing. And they've actually been going to a lot of the progressive meetings and, get-togethers. And so, yeah, and it's evolved from there. We have a good time. Our chat comes in. Everybody's a moderator in our chats. Because, hey, we're talking true democracy here, right? And not one person should have the power in the chat. So everybody gets a standard wrench in our chat. And it helps us see who's new. I can tell if somebody's new to the chat if they don't have a wrench. And I can tell you, out of almost 6 years of giving wrenches to everybody that comes into our chats, nobody's ever misused them. Nobody ever has. Nobody's gone and like kicked everybody out, that type of thing.
Wow. Because if I did that at INN, that would almost certainly happen. The other thing that I love about everybody having the admin access or the mod access is that they can post links. Because if you don't have a mod access on most YouTube channels, you can't post a link to something. And people like to share links all the time when they're watching live streams to other stuff, right? Yeah. And yes, it can distract from the live stream, so I understand why YouTube would restrict it, but as a mod, you're trusted enough. So I guess that's the only loophole around that. Now, Rumble does not do that, and once in a while you'll get somebody show up in your Rumble stream and be like, hey, blah, 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 it's the Jews, and have a link to a Rumble video to watch about that. It's like, okay, I guess. Really? Yeah, occasionally we'll get someone that's promoting their own show or stream in our chat or in the comments.
That's
really nice. And you've You know, speaking of YouTube and censorship and copyrights, and you've gone again. You, as an independent media creator, have been put through the ringer by the $100 billion corporations, the $1 trillion corporations. All right, over what we're saying, over how we're presenting it, over again, and there's this famous case right now going on where Universal Music Group is copyright claiming everyone that's using their stuff, even for 10 seconds, and it's messing up people's artwork because they use 10 seconds of a song in a 3-hour live stream. And so tell me about some of the things you've dealt with there.
Well, and the screwy thing is TikTok promotes these people putting music in the background because they do video music share.
Right.
So if you try to bring a video from X that you think has some pertinent information and there's music in the background, now you're getting copyrighted. But so here's the thing. We have been monetized for many, many, many years. And we literally have turned all that off. We don't care. We don't want paid. We don't want advertisements. They'll still run ads, even though we don't get paid for the ads. The only money we make on our channels, we're nonprofit, is whatever the viewer decides to donate to us. So we don't give a shit. Copyright us. And sometimes we get copyrighted so hard that they'll rip our channel down, or our show down. But mostly the censorship and the spankings that we took were back during the COVID days.
And the Assange days,
and the Assange days. We were one of the very few channels out there way before Jimmy, way before, telling you the truth about the and the effects of them. And we got slapped around hard by YouTube every other week. There was a couple of times where we were really at risk of losing our channel, and so we would have to, that's when I built the trailer park channel. Like, okay, we got to start building these backup channels. But we always had Rockfin as our main backup channel. Like, okay, if we get knocked off of YouTube, you can always find us on Rockfin. We had 20,000 followers on Rockfin, I want to say something like that. 15,000, 20,000 followers. I mean, YouTube has throttled us so hard. They've kept the boot on us that every month we will pick up 30, 40 new followers, but they'll pill away 50 from us. So we have never been allowed to grow on YouTube. We've been sitting at 1.3K followers for 5 years.
That's insane.
And we know that that's not a reflection of us, because when you go and you look at the growth we had on, say, a platform like Rockfin, that was natural. It was a lot more reflective of what was actually, how we were growing. And so, but we don't care, whatever. We say we're the best kept secret. We're a social club with, our quaint little, red rope room of VIPs that come in every Saturday night, and our chat loves each other. They know each other. Mutual aid. We've always pushed mutual aid. Get out there and help out in your community where you can, how you can. And our community, they do that. And they're the same community that you have, that a lot of our people cross over.
Yeah.
And I love that. And they are so loving and dedicated to each other. And it makes me proud that we brought people together and how they support each other. But yeah, censorship, especially Julian Assange days, man. They whooped our butts. They would take our show down. They sent us to re-education school. I got sent to re-education school by YouTube,
right?
like
copyright school, copyright school, re-education school, and we learned the term medical misinformation, which we didn't know even existed until 2020. Right? A new term
and they're
showed
the ones
up.
that are spreading the medical misinformation. We're just spreading the truth. We were sharing Dr. Pierre Corey and Robert Malone and John Campbell, and we were sharing facts, and we just kept getting smacked around for it.
Well, and part of it was that they were opposing and questioning what Pfizer and Moderna were doing. Some of those guys have turned out to be on the ivermectin and on the the wellness company train, and we didn't really realize what that was at the time. And I think that they might have realized what, that was a whole right-wing influence, whatever operation, but it was big pharma versus big pharma versus alternate big pharma. But
yeah.
You mentioned producing different stuff and comedy and AI on your show. Linda also does the Yum Yums. I didn't want to forget Linda or not, leave her out of the conversation, because she's also always been in the conversation at Roar and over with everything you guys do. And I think she doesn't nearly get the recognition because she's never really out there. Right.
She's like you. She doesn't put her face so much out there. I mean, you see AI versions of Linda, but yeah, Linda's working behind the scenes. She's at school with Oz. Oz does this thing called School on Tuesdays. And Aram is another one that people don't understand how much he actually supports us behind the scenes. Aram has been a driving force behind the scenes helping Oz for many, many years. And not only that, Miss Amber King with Brave New Future, she is a driving force with Roar Media, and her show hasn't been up the last year or so because she's had a lot going on, but I just talked to her the other day and she's dusting it off and bringing it back. And I said, our viewers would love it if you come back, because Amber is one of those people that likes to deep dive into, patents and, the nerdy end of research, and the stuff she brings is mind blowing. I mean, if it wasn't for Amber, we wouldn't have known anything about what the misinformation and the COVID, what they were doing to us in 2020.
Yeah, I'm working with Amber, and we're going to try to get her involved with, said it's part of what INN does, so we've got the Restream account, we've got a Canva account.
Yeah.
She's like, and we have the ability to hook up her channels and have her do her own show.
Oh, good.
At no additional expense to us, really. So, if we can figure out a way to work the timing and everything else, I can get her own login. She can use the studio and our thing. This is how we help each other family wise, and exactly. The people that we know can do the work and want to do the work and will put the work out. Like, we should be supporting each other, because nobody else is going to do it.
Exactly.
Nobody else is going to teach us this shit.
Nobody's going to teach you. You got to learn it yourself. And that's how we inform each other. And that was just, that's what it's been about for me since 2017, 2018. Like, okay, I went out, I saw firsthand. And that's what I tell people. I was just fighting somebody on Facebook the other day about voting for lesser evil. You got to vote for Biden. He was a lesser evil, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, you're still voting for evil. Well, you can't vote for third party because that's throwing away your vote and giving, a big guy. Like, she's like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, I am informing people. I went out there and created an independent news network. Like, I am trying to let people know what I'm seeing as an everyday American who is fighting for the people in the damn trailer park.
And organizing locally and not focusing on the federal electoral politics, which are completely bought out by big corporations. Like, unless you are a max donor or a big corporation, you're spinning your wheels, sadly. It's the best thing that you can do is start it that way. Yep. Start an independent media channel to have influence, to have a group of people that you can bring with you. And that's what they'll listen to. One person yelling, hey, I don't like the way this is going, they just ignore and dismiss you. But when you're 100 people saying, hey, we don't like what's going on, they have no choice but to listen to you. And then they start pulling stuff like they did to the Bernie people. All right. And I was one of those Bernie people. I did not get out and do the activism. I mostly sat on my couch and donated and TYT'd, and I did the phone call, a couple of phone banking things.
You did your part.
I tried, and certainly was a champion around to everyone I knew. They all thought I was nuts. We all bought into this. Right? We all bought into the squad. Like, we were part of a brainwashed cult of people. It felt like.
I never fell for the squad. I
did. I fell in for that.
I saw them.
Sadly, for 2 years,
but
I fell for that.
I had been burned enough. I had been burned enough by that point that I could see these sheepdog coming. So, everybody gets there in their own due time. That's what I've learned. Like, there's so many people that I just want to grab by the shoulders and shake them and be like, can't you see this? but I know that they'll get there in their own due time. And I got to tell you, I had a really good friend. She was my co-chair back in 2016 for the Bernie days. She was an attorney. And I don't know what happened, but 2017, 2018, she just like, she didn't trust what I was telling her. And I just saw an email that she sent somebody else a couple of days ago where she said, I owe Shanda the world. She really taught me how to open my eyes and think critically. I can't, something about she was so far ahead of all of us and tried to warn us, and I was just, that made me proud
Yeah.
because that's all I've ever tried to do is to warn people. But I also realize that people are going to get there in their own due time. They have to get burned enough. They have to fall for the stupid candidates. They have to buy into the Democratic talking points and get let down so many times before they get radicalized, I guess.
I guess before they realize that they're never going to get the health care that we all know that we should be getting, not just access to healthcare, but actual healthcare. That again, that has been one of the big uniting factors. And what's funny, you talk about Assange, and I want to go back to that for a second, only because I think my take on all that is, we were shocked that they let him out in 2024. We fought so hard to get him out of Belmarsh, and we really didn't think it was ever going to happen. I think a lot of us didn't. We thought he was probably going to die there.
I thought they'd kill him. Yeah,
right.
I thought they would kill him.
And they were going to kill him in prison, and that we were never going to see him emerge. And I think that in letting him out, it's almost like letting the air out of a balloon. Like, it just deflated an entire activist movement of people that were together and connected and communicating. And it let the air out of that. And a lot of we're still connected, but we're not communicating and we're not actively sharing each other's things. And there's been a renewed thing about Palestine, but some people weren't necessarily pro-Palestine, or, and it just, I almost felt like they let him out to deflate that activist community, because we were getting very strong in our voice about getting a pardon, or about, and then there was the trial that was about to come here, and nobody really wanted a public show trial with all the activists.
That's why they let him out. That's why they let him out, is because they did not want that public trial. They knew what we would do. I mean, I'm a girl in a trailer park, and I would take every dime I had and fly across country for a 3-day, not sleep, hit the ground, be in front of the Department of Justice, be in front of CNN and Fox News protesting, and then be back on a plane Sunday night and on my way back across the country. I mean, that's pretty, when you're getting people in the trailer park doing that, you got to deflate that shit. And I believe that's absolutely why they let him out. And then there was getting so much press by the likes of these movies like Ithaca, and there was a couple others.
The Trust Fall was a new one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Trust Fall. Yeah, that were making, they were rumbling up the independent film festivals and stuff. And, I was really fortunate. I got to have dinner, a very intimate dinner with John Shipton and Gabriel Shipton when they came to Seattle. We had, I don't know, Amber had got us some a little cafe or something that was shut down, and we went in there, we decorated it, we catered it ourselves. We had fresh salmon, and we all brought dishes, and I want to say there was 12 or 13 of us, and we got to just sit down and talk to them like normal people about how it was affecting them to have Julian in Belmarsh, what it was doing to the family. Here's John, he's pushing 80, and he's out traveling the world trying to get people to understand that his son is dying in a Belmarsh prison. And Gabriel, his brother, is so delightful. delightful, and they were fun. I had a blast sitting down, and they sat for an interview with us. So Roar Media, and Amber and I, we got to sit down and interview them. And yeah, I mean, so giving everyday working class people that kind of power, the Biden administration had to deflate that for sure.
I genuinely think that getting rid of that activist community was a key for them. It had been very powerful building up to in. I remember in May there was a hearing and he wasn't even able to attend. He wasn't well enough, and then you see him get on that plane. You know the footage, and man, tears and joy and hugs and ever since, I'm happy for him, but a little disappointed what we've seen. I didn't want to talk about Julian other than your experience in organizing. You did a table, for example. I remember I very famously
tabling.
Yeah, you did tabling like at events where you would just have material there ready for people to learn and to talk to people about what he was going through and how they were taking away our ability as even content creators to say what we wanted to say. And fast forward now to today, where literally Trump is now saying, we took away freedom of the press. We took away your ability to free speech. We just took it away because people were getting upset about burning flags. So we took it away. Like, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, well, we've been out there telling people, I've really been on the ground working on two issues for the better part of the last 10 years, and that is freedom of speech, and the other is the right to healthcare. I mean, these are two of my biggest fights and have been. We should have the right to tell people that we have the right to healthcare.
Amen. On both of those fronts. And again, for those who don't know and have been watching this, and just watching us go down memory lane and talk about the history of independent media from someone who's been through the trenches, Chanda is going through small cell lung cancer, her second wave of treatments now. So if you're able to, and of means, please, even $5, $10, that QR code goes to that GoFundMe. So many people have stepped up already. It's an incredible blessing. And I, by the way, show this GoFundMe every Sunday night on How Do We Miss That? I have a section at the end. I go through my lightning round, and then I go through my GoFundMes. Because part of what we do in independent media, and you've always done this so well, is shout out the people that need help. Okay? And uplift people that need help, that don't have a voice. That's one of the reasons why we do what we do. And when I see especially a member of our family hurting like this and going through this now, I also know, because again, I'm friends with Oz, that you were just going through you had just gone through a thing last summer with your mother-in-law, or with your partner's mom, and she was going through a horrible case of dementia. And being physically belligerent and abusive.
Oh my gosh.
And you had just gotten her into a facility, and I remember breathing and like almost feel like, I'm finally getting back to my life. And then you didn't feel well, right? I mean, how exactly did that start? Did you learn about this?
Well, okay, yeah. So my mother-in-law slipped into dementia. It happened really fast, and so many millions of Americans are going to face this. The boomer generation's getting older, and so I was kind of chronicling it. The things we were going through. We finally got her into a locked facility. I mean, she was sneaking out, like busting out her window. The cops were bringing her home at 3 o'clock in the morning. She would be lost. I mean, it was insanity. It was insanity. She was hiding knives. I mean, I was in fear for my life. Like, this is craziness. And they say that more and more people are going to be diagnosed with dementia, of course, with all of our air, food, and water being poisoned. So yeah, we get her into a home and we can finally breathe a little bit. She gets COVID, she's sick, whatever. And I started having headaches and swelling of my feet really bad. And it was the middle of summer. So I was like, Okay, well, whatever. And at the same time, I'm menopausal, right? I just turned 50. I'm doing great. I walk 2, 3 miles a day. I look good. I feel good. I went into 50 just like I'm kicking 50's ass. And then not even a month later, I go to my gynecologist and I'm like, God, I'm having these night sweats so bad. Like, God, I just wake up wringing wet. And they're like, yeah, you're 50, it's menopause, whatever. Here's a hormone patch. So Big Pharma has this push now for a hormone therapy. It's hormone replacement therapy is what it's called, the HRT.
Hmm.
Now, if you remember, right, the generation before us, the boomers, they weren't allowed hormones because why? Because it caused cancer. If you remember, grandma and moms, if you had any history of cancer in your family, they wouldn't give you hormone replacement. You just had to rough it out. And so I slapped that stupid patch on, and I'm not even kidding. Within 2, 3 days, I was in the ER. My feet were swollen huge. They were like, okay, well, deep vein thrombosis. No, no, no. They're like, well, we don't know. Maybe it's just a side effect of the hormone patch. And I just kept having side effects. And I finally got a headache so bad that I thought I was going to die. I was like 4 or 5 days. So finally, I went back to the ER, which I felt terrible. I felt stupid because I kept going to the ER and they kept telling me there was nothing wrong,
Right.
gaslighting me. And finally, this time I went in and I was like, I don't care. I'm not leaving. My head hurts. I feel like I'm dying. And my sodium was crashing. And people don't realize, man, your sodium is so important and it can crash so quickly on you. And I basically was losing my mind. I lost communication skills. And for somebody who's a journalist, independent media, like I forgot how to text message. I couldn't do sentence structures. Like I couldn't make a complete sentence.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was crazy to have my mind slowly slip away. It was so frustrating. And they couldn't figure it out for the first couple of days. They put me in the ICU and they kept poking me every hour. It was this whole ordeal. And our amazing viewers, because I would go live occasionally from my room and I was out of my mind. And they wanted to come bust me out. Like, the nurses came in and they were like, "What are you doing online? Why are we getting inundated with phone calls from people just advocating and freaking out?" And
Oh, I remember that.
it was our viewers. Yeah, our viewers were calling there just ready to tear that place down because of the way I was being treated. They put a central line in my neck and they blew that out and shot it out the side of my neck with no numbing. Like it was just a terrible, terrible nightmare. But by the end of the nightmare, I get told that I have this syndrome called SIADH, which is basically a sodium deficiency. And they can't bring your sodium up too high too quickly, or it'll fry your brain. And if your sodium goes too low too quickly, it'll fry your brain. So I'm going through this whole process of trying to bring my sodium level up slowly, but whatever. So finally, we get my sodium level up to an adequate, place. But there's an underlying issue. Where's my sodium going? Why is my sodium crashing? So they start doing scans and stuff. And I have a CAT scan come back. And, everybody has this my chart. Now, the Democrats passed a bill um, that says that you, as a patient, have the right to see all of your testing as soon as it's available.
Yes.
And that's even before your doctor even reads it. Now, that was a part of the Democrats' last big bill they pushed through when Biden was in office.
Oh, yeah.
And so I see the test, I read it, and it says something about Hillard mass, right side, blah, 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 11 centimeter. And I'm like, what the fuck does this mean? And my best friend just happens to be a doctor at the VA. So I screenshot it and I send it over to her and I go, hey, what is this? And my phone instantly rings and
Oh, my
she's like,
God.
oh my God, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. And I'm like, how bad? Like what? And so basically, I knew that I had cancer. And it took the doctors about 2 days to come in and tell me that I had cancer. They hem-hawed around it. And we didn't know what kind yet, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I got it rushed in and got a biopsy, and it turned out to be small cell. Small cell lung cancer is the most aggressive lung cancer. It kills. It's one of the leading killers in the country, cancer wise. The average lifespan for somebody who gets diagnosed with small cell is less than 5 years. And so that was shocking. I mean, just shocking, like flipped my world upside down. I went from doing family garage sales to being told that I had less than 5 years to live, and the average lifespan is 18 months. And so it's been a
Oh,
year. I went into chemo. I did 4 rounds of chemo around this time last year. I finished up right at Christmas. So you can see I'm bald in that one picture. This is what's grown back in the last 6 months. And then I've been blasted 73 times by radiation. I've had radiation to both the tops of my femurs, my ribs, multiple places in my lung and my clavicle, my collarbone.
yeah.
And now I'm on my second line of chemo because I over the summer I was doing good. Like everything was kind of in remission, like nothing was being active, and I thought, woohoo! We backed it off for a long time, and I was on immunotherapy because they have all these new immunotherapies. There hasn't been a lot of advancement when it comes to small cell in the last 30 years. It's this chemo radiation, and then sorry, go home and do hospice. But now we have all these immunotherapies and targeted medications that they can, kind of target your immune system to go after the cancer stem cells. And so this time it came back on my last scan about 6 weeks ago, and my CEA number shot through the roof, and I could feel at the end of summer I wasn't feeling really well. I was like, oh, okay, I feel like something's going on. And they took a CAT scan or MRI of my liver, and it has moved into my liver, and I have
Oh,
11 tumors on my liver now, and it's in the tops of both of my femur bones. And that's what hurts the most is the bone pain. Like, oh my God, cancer bone pain is the most insane pain I have ever felt in my life. All I can do is just cry when it comes on. It's like a toothache, but in your bones is the only way I can describe it. And I just cry and cry when it hits so hard. Like right now, I am on 120 milligrams of morphine and 40 milligrams of Percocet. I mean, I'm sorry if I feel if I look or act intoxicated, because
not at
I am.
all.
I mean,
Not
okay,
no, no one
but
to hear you and see. People wouldn't know, and I think that
good.
happens a lot. There are a lot of people going through treatment and struggles. They're very
Yeah,
private about it. They don't want to talk about it, and
yeah.
the the amount of rise in cancers in the last several years,
So bad.
and the younger people that are getting it,
Yep.
there there's a lot of talk about plastics and the amount of plastics that's around us,
The nanoplastics.
and the toxification of that. Not even the yes, we got nano in our brains and sperm. Everybody's apparently got it in their
The
sperm now. All their
blood-brain
kids are
barrier.
getting
Yep.
it. But just
So
in
bad.
heating up a plastic bowl in the microwave,
Yeah. The
you
black
know,
ones. Don't use those black ones.
no, even
Yeah.
the clear one, anything like we have
Uh,
stopped using anything plastic in the microwave at all. It's glass
yeah, I don't like
or
anything
paper.
plastic. Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
all and
Yeah. And
my wife's
Teflon. Throw those fucking Teflon
yep,
pans out the
back
door.
to
I'm using
stainless
nothing
steel
but cast iron.
pans or stainless steel or
Stainless steel
cast
cast
iron.
iron. Yeah.
But even the paper plates have a chemical coating on them. And
Coating on them. Yeah.
and when you heat,
Everything is poisoned. Everything around us,
it's
everything we touch, we eat, we drink.
it's
Yeah.
remarkable, and it's all again based on petroleum. It's all based on oil and extract and figuring out ways for them to make everything out of oil. Plastic is made out of oil, for those who don't know,
Yeah.
and it
It's so are pharmaceuticals, and it was really hard for me being somebody who researches everything, knowing what they did to us during COVID, knowing that I didn't trust big pharma, as somebody who went through the opiate era, and then COVID. I'm supposed to now trust these doctors that want to give me chemo and radiation and all of these medications, right? It was just flipped my world upside down very quickly. Like I had to do research and I had to figure out, was I going to take these medicines or was I going to try to go naturopath? And, with our network, I had so many people reaching out to me, Indy, that were like, you need to look at what's going on in Mexico. You need to look at the Joe Tipton protocols of ivermectin and fenbendazole, and you should try soursop, and you should try this, and you should try that, and so it was so much information coming at me so quickly when I
Right.
first got diagnosed. How do I navigate this? What do I do? Fortunately, I got a lot of doctors. I got a doctor in Mexico. I got a doctor at the Bastar Clinic in Seattle, which is a naturopath doctor. And then because my friend's a doctor, she found me the best oncologist and thoracic surgeon in Washington State. And I gathered up all the information that I could. And basically, what I was told, even by the doctors in Mexico, is with small cell, you have to hit it with chemo and radiation. You're not going to kill it any other way. It responds very well to chemo and radiation, but it grows so quickly. It can literally grow in 2, 3 weeks. And
Wow.
so I had no choice. I had no choice but to have to go a more traditional route with Western medicine. And it really sucked. Not to say that I'm not doing all of the other stuff, because I am, but I had to trust that the doctors and the people at the lower levels that are there, because the healthcare workers that are there because they care and they truly want to help people, are there trying to help me. And I had to just not worry about the CEOs that are pocketing the money and what's driving it. But at the end of the day, it's all petroleum based medicine. That's
Yeah.
all Western medicine is.
And you went through chemo already, multiple, and
Multiple times. I'm doing chemo right now.
the
I
Red
do chemo
Devil,
again on Monday.
did they hook you up to the Red Devil? That's like one of the big things, and that's allegedly supposed to knock you out quite a bit. And then they mix in anti-nausea medications, because everybody knows people who take that, stick to their stomach.
This is my per needed medicine bag. Look at this. I mean, that's just as needed. That's not even the stuff I have to take daily. The stuff I take daily is out in the living room. But
Oh my God.
I have like 6 different nausea medicines. I have 3 different pain medicines. It's just crazy. Steroids. Acid reducers. Oh my gosh, the chemo, man, just kills my stomach off. I end up having to take like massive Pepcid and Mesopril, whatever they call it, Prilosec, whatever.
Right.
But I just got accepted into a new trial, and I'm super excited because there's nowhere left for my cancer to go right now except for in my brain. And then once it hits my brain, they send you home for palliative care and hospice. Like, okay, well, you live your best life and we'll keep you comfortable. I mean, that's really what happens once it hits your brain. So I'm trying my best to keep it out of my brain. I'm scared to death. My next brain scan is November 11th. I mean, I get such anxiety because I'm so scared. I didn't think the last scan would come back with 11 tumors on my liver. So I just never know. Every day's a gift for me. I know I have a death sentence. I've accepted it. My loved ones haven't accepted it as easily, I guess, as I have. They're having a hard time with it, watching somebody you love decline and having to accept that they're going to leave
when they're young.
It's really been hard on them. And I'm young, yeah, and my grandkids are young, and my children, it's just, it's been really hard. So I'm really excited about this new clinical trial. I have a doctor over at Fred Hutch Cancer Center. Even if it doesn't save me or give me extra time, if it can potentially help somebody else have extra time down the line, I'm more than happy to be a guinea pig, is the way I look at it. But I'm hoping, I'm praying that not only will it give me some time, but maybe it'll slow this down and give me a year or two. That's what I pray for. So
well, and then there's the
but
entire
it's been a nightmare.
Cost insurance, dealing
That's
with
where we're
that
going,
whole
yeah.
side of it. And that's where I wanted to kind of talk to you about next, which is not only are you having to go through treatment, but then go through figuring out the entire insurance navigation. And
Oh,
I know that you have was it Apple Care in Washington is what they call it,
yeah,
basically Medicaid for or Medicare for all, ensuring that nobody has no
yeah.
health care, which is what we were fighting for the whole country, by the way, to
Yeah.
ensure that even if you
No, I'm
lived in a
lucky.
trailer park, you still get the treatment that you need and
Yeah.
the meds that you
Right.
need. All right. And think about how many people around the country don't have access to that. And it's just
Don't, yeah,
heartbreaking
like
and a
people in
nightmare.
Louisiana. No, yeah, yeah, no, yeah, you got to give up everything you own to go get on welfare. Yeah. It, so Washington State, we did a ballot petition, which we are one of those ballot states where you can go out there and you can get your neighbors to sign on. You get enough signatures, you can take it to the voters. We took it to the voters of Washington State, and they said, hell yeah, everybody has the right to health care. And so we have Apple Healthcare, which it's not it's DSHS state care basically. But it offers basic coverage. And I got to say, for the most part, they've been great about covering my chemo, my radiation, my doctor's appointments, my labs, my testing. I mean, these things, my radiation alone costs $200,000. A lot of my labs are or a lot of my testing is $5,000, $10,000 a pop, So not only are they having to pay for me to use the machinery, but for these doctors to read it. So I mean, I have been probably close to $1 million patient
Oh,
on
yeah.
my local healthcare, which is Molina. I have Molina. If you've heard, Molina is like the fifth worst in the country. And but I also understand the frustration of the likes of Luigi Mangione, because here I am. I have stage 4 terminal cancer. It's in my bones, it's in my liver, it's in my lung. And my damn insurance company denies my pain medication every fucking month. And it takes days and weeks for my pharmacy to fight them and fight them. And now here's a stupid rule. If I am on state health insurance, meaning welfare, I shouldn't have money to pay out of pocket to cover a prescription. So they deny my prescription, but the pharmacy is not allowed to sell me the prescription, even though my insurance denied the prescription. So basically, I'm not
What?
allowed to have it. Isn't that insane? Make it make sense to me. I'm like, what do you mean you can't sell it to me? So my pharmacy, I bring my pharmacist donuts every month because these people spend hours on the phone fighting my insurance company every month for me for every freaking medication. They get hung up on, they get jerked around, they get left on hold. Like I love them so much. They advocate and they fight so hard for me. And they finally came up with a system where after it gets denied twice by the insurance company, they'll let me pay out of pocket for it. And then they have found me some discount cards to put it on. So I'm not paying the $500, $1,000 for the prescription of 30 days of,
Jesus.
morphine. Yeah. So that's how it's working right now. I finally they switched me to fentanyl patches this last week, and now the fight is on to see if my insurance is going to cover that. So I'll let you know. I didn't want to go on fentanyl patches because I kept telling myself like, no, you're not that bad yet. You're not that bad yet. Like I'll save it till I'm really sick and at the end. But because my insurance doesn't want to cover the morphine, we're gonna try to see if they'll cover the fentanyl, even though I'm kind of really scared to be on fentanyl. But
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
all that
understand
fear
people's
mongering.
frustration.
People have been fear
Yes,
mongering about
yes, exactly.
fentanyl and Prince, and that this
Yeah.
little
Well, my
pinhead can kill
pharmacist,
you. Basically,
yeah,
I'd
this
be deathly
grain of
afraid of it.
salt. Yeah. Well, I do keep Narcan in my car. I have Narcan next to my bed. I am on a lot of opiates, so I do, keep it because that's just smart. But I don't abuse my medication, so I'll never need it. But um, the fentanyl, I'm not. There's other stuff out there now. they have car fentanyl. Have you heard of that one?
No.
That one's supposed to be like 5 times worse than fentanyl. So
Oh my God.
yeah, there's much stronger stuff out there from what I understand.
Now you mentioned Luigi. I have my own theory when it comes to Luigi, and I think he didn't do it. I don't think it was him. I think he's a patsy.
I don't think he did it either.
I think he's a patsy.
What's up with all these patsies? I think the Charlie Kirk guy's a patsy too.
I totally agree with you. Well, that to me, my speculation is that's the cover up for an Israeli murderer, an Israeli sniper.
That was totally
because Israelis are the ones that have been shooting people in the neck like repeatedly every day for 2 years. And then you have
I don't know what to think.
The lack of blood everywhere, and the first and third base coach that are signaling behind him. Like there's so much weird stuff going on there. The guy who was at the Butler PA thing that somehow is also the guy who's coordinating here at the Kirk thing. The fact that the location that he's sitting at is at the main head of a menorah, like layout wise, like that Utah Valley University.
Everything's an op.
You know, and then
everything's an op. I don't believe the Trump assassination attempt either.
I totally agree.
No, that wonky and weird too. Like it's all for show.
WWE Hall of Famer knows how to squib. Went and got the shoe, and to me, the breach of protocol by the Secret Service, where they wouldn't pick him up and get him out of there immediately, is the biggest tell to me.
Yeah, they let him wave.
Right, they let him stop and show his hand, and that it mirrors the Iwo Jima pose. You know, the 3 people with the just the symbolism.
Not to mention his ear's perfect now. He doesn't even have a scar on it. Yeah,
right?
It's all for show. Everything we see is just bread and circus, man.
And that's the thing. The further we've gotten into independent media, the more we realize how much of a show it really is, and how clueless most people really are, and how clueless they are happy to be. You start telling them this,
happy to be.
They get mad at you for telling them that the world that they've believed in isn't real and is, you know, who was it? Somebody said that it's like they're watching a play and you're standing next to them going, this is fake. This is a play. This isn't real. Yeah. And they're going, shh, I just want to enjoy my play. Shut up, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's
back into the Matrix. I want to enjoy my steak. Yeah.
That's what it feels like big time with reality. With Ukraine was another narrative, you know, how they set this up and then turned Putin into Hitler. You know, this Putin is Hitler. Yeah. Oh, really? While Netanyahu has literally exterminated 1/3 of the children in Gaza. Like,
yeah.
But Putin didn't do any of that to the children in Kiev or anywhere else in Ukraine. Like, but yet Netanyahu is allowed to come to the UN and to the White House and treated as a VIP.
Our Congress. Yeah.
One of the biggest things that the eye openers for me was just how badly Israel has behaved. And you look, I was raised as a conservative Jewish kid. I didn't even know what Zionism was versus Judaism. This whole thing really came out the last 4 or 5 years, thanks to independent media, by the way. Again, another reason why they are looking to silence, censor, and shut down and co-opt and control independent media. Why the Ellisons at CIA Connected have now bought into TikTok, and now Skydance buying Paramount, controlling all of the gates so that they will only allow you to use approved narratives and messages, and everything else will be considered hate speech, anti-American, medical misinformation. There's just been so many, an enemy of the state. And then I didn't even talk about ICE disappearing people off the street, and
oh my gosh,
what a police state they're allowing it to turn into, because now you can't necessarily have that communication network. And you go back to the 2016 stuff, like when you were there, the white noise machines that they're now using at public protests, which then spilled into the George Floyd thing in 2020, where they tried to kind of create these uprisings. They put pallets of bricks in certain places to create a narrative of violent.
For years they've been doing that.
Violent mobs of people in the streets, and they're doing it right now, by the way. They're doing it again right now. for anyone
No, it's their
watching.
playbook for
Right.
100%. But you know, it's all done intentionally. Like Biden opening up the fucking borders and just letting we had no immigration policies under Biden.
Nope.
Anybody come in, come on, everybody come in. That was intentionally done so that way Trump could be the bad guy, unleash ICE, turn them into a Gestapo. But not only that, he could slowly roll out the surveillance state, and Americans would beg for it. Would please
MAGA
protect us.
And MAGA is like bullying people that aren't down with it, which is, if Biden were in, that never would have happened.
The ones who were supposed to not to be, yeah, exactly. So
yes.
How else were they going to get the far right Republicans to fall for the surveillance state? This way, exactly this way.
Right.
You know, the left was always going to fall for it. Yeah, Palantir, you know, the technocrats,
JD Vance setting themselves up to get him as the VP by Rumble running Truth Social and the back end for the Trump for TMTG, and now this whole crypto thing. So now they've just decided to blow the whole thing up and just grift to their heart's content, create new cryptocurrencies and vehicles and investment arms for their supporters to be able to put money into, which yields them nothing. I mean, you have all these videos and tweets and messages of people that are, oh, I put all my money into this, and then the rug pulled us, and it's the Trump coin, literally the inauguration weekend.
Oh my God, the Trump coin.
He launched a crypto meme coin that raised his net worth at one point during that night to $60 billion. And then it came all the way back down. But the whole thing's a scam. I think that right now what he's doing, he doesn't care about ideology. He doesn't care about anything other than enriching his family and his kids and making sure they're set up in their little businesses for life, because he's not going to be around forever. He's got two fail sons that fuck up everything they touch. All right.
Yeah, right. But hey, he's got Jared Kushner as a son-in-law.
Ivanka's going to be okay, because Jared Kushner's going to sell the waterfront property in Gaza. All right. So I
was just going to say that. You beat me to it.
He's got that set up, right? So he's literally setting it up like he'll let everyone do whatever they want corruption-wise. They did that trip to the Middle East where they literally just lined up to throw money at them, didn't bring the press with them to that trip. All right. But you know, this isn't TDS. This is looking at the facts and looking at that this is all part of a corrupt network that involved the Bidens also, that involved the Clintons also. It's a uniparty.
All the Democrats are over there kissing the damn wall too. You know, Washington has been bought by not just AIPAC, by all of the Jewish lobbies, and has been for our whole entire lifetimes. You know,
and Christian Zionist lobbies.
Christian Zionists. You know, and I was raised deep Pentecostal, talking in tongues, Assembly of God type of Christian. I'm not afraid to call myself a Christian, but I don't fall for this false prophet of Israel that we've been sold in the Bible. That Israel over there right now is not the Israel of my God. And but a lot of Americans have been brainwashed into thinking that they must just put the blinders on and faithfully follow Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel, or the second coming of Christ is not coming. And so many of my fellow Christian friends are starting to wake up and see it for what it is. I just had one 2 days ago that told me, we were taking a car ride, like, I don't think that Israel is the Israel of the Bible. I was like, oh my God, thank you. You know,
yes.
Yeah.
Like, how many babies do we need to see blown up in our Twitter feeds before they figure it out?
Before you get it.
Not everyone's on Twitter though, and that's what we realize is, and I think that part of the social media world
why are we allowed to see it? Why are we allowed to see it? Because believe me, if they didn't want us to see all those blown up babies, we would not be seeing it.
I guess
because they want the anti-Semitic pushback is what it is. They want to be able to say, look at all these anti-Semitics, and they can attack the college kids. They can attack. That's why they show it to us constantly, I believe, anyway.
Right, but you never saw the beheaded baby. You know, they didn't exist. But much of the the video that they made up or that happened from October 7th.
Hamas, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But so
I've never once seen that video, India, and you know me and Oz, man. We will see a video. If it's out there in the world, I will go on a Russian server and watch that shit.
Yep.
We have not seen it.
No, they won't let anyone that isn't like written into the Zionist world see it,
right?
For whatever reason,
exactly.
because they don't question it. They don't want somebody coming in and questioning it. Now, I literally shared with somebody like last night. A lot of the narratives were put out by an organization called Zaka, which is their first responders. And the Zaka people admitted that they lied and embellished the story to generate sympathy for the Israelis. Yeah. And they've recanted.
The likes of Deborah Messing and dumbasses in Hollywood.
Right.
Exactly.
They admit that in their own newspapers. And that's the other thing is that you have to look inside the Hebrew newspapers for what they tell to the Israelis is very different from the narrative that gets projected on the United States. Because we're the wallet. So it's like they tell the kids tell themselves the truth and then they tell the parents the lie. That's kind of what, in a way, but Israel isn't necessarily the kid either. Though the citizens, I would say, are kind of manipulated through their media because they don't have free speech and they don't even claim to offer free speech. It is narrative controlled propaganda media. And now they've decided that they're going to do that to the entire world. And if you're going to report against it, we're going to blow up your house and we're going to kill you and 3 generations of your family.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, look at how many journalists have been attacked. Look at how many human rights laws have been violated by Israel.
Everyone.
And the UN just turns a blind eye. Every single one. Yes. And has been long before October 7th. We've been telling people this for years. I mean, when we saw Rachel Corrie bulldozed over, she's from 2 towns over from me, So, yeah, we've been telling people this for years. But October 7th, I'm so tired of, Hamas and October 7th. You guys let that fucking happen. Israel had the most secure border in the freaking world.
Right. That wall was monitored.
They were taken by surprise. Yeah.
Yep. And then
they sacrificed their own people, the Hannibal directive. They don't care about those hostages that they keep playing around with. And, they don't want a peace deal. They don't want a ceasefire deal. They're going to keep doing this. They're going to keep bombing. And they are a threat to the entire world. Them going after Iran, them going into Syria and Yemen, their plan for a greater Israel is a threat to the rest of the world. And I don't know when we're going to wake up. The United States, supposedly the most powerful empire to ever be on the damn planet, and realize that this little tiny freaking country is going to be the end all of us.
Well,
and we're just marching along right behind them.
Sadly, I think it's a partnership between the U.S., the U.K., and Israel that we're never going to, as our government won't wake up, but our people will wake up and have to tell the government this is not going to happen. But the problem is that what they've been trying to do is cut out the Suez Canal and create the Ben Gurion Canal so that they then have their own international shipping lane that can no longer be affected 100%. By any other country. Then they create their own pipeline through Syria, and then they have their own energy delivery system, their own global delivery system of whatever they want that nobody can stop, and then they can do whatever they want to do. One of the big things that's happened with the Houthis
Damn Indy, so well informed you are.
Thank you. But one of the things with the Houthis in Yemen is that they've been fucking with Israel's imports because a lot of the imports come into Eilat and it's got to go past the Strait of Hormuz, and that's in Yemen's control. And they bomb ships that go in there, and they've been stopping that to the point that Eilat basically had to shut down as a port. They've been hampering Israel's ability to import stuff for 2 years now. And them kind of they took out Yemen's leadership, again, attacking sovereign leaders of other countries, and nobody's stopping them. That this is just okay, it's acceptable, nobody thinks it can happen to them.
at this shit, right? Don't forget, we got a meat shredder going on in the Ukraine where we just are sacrificing, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians, young men.
Yep.
And then you got Africa that's being constantly violated. Africa never gets its due for the crap that we're pulling down there, right?
Yep.
The minerals
and South America, the whole global South,
and South America. Look at what Venezuela. I mean, oh my gosh, it's so bad what we're doing around the world. When you really start to look, I didn't realize that we were the bullies of the world. I didn't realize the things we were doing when I was just an innocent dumbass in a trailer park worrying about how I was going to pay my power bill.
How could
and
you?
Now I'm
How
just
could you know?
mortified by who we are. Yeah.
Again, independent media, YouTube brought a lot of this to us unfiltered to a point where they couldn't stop us from knowing it. Where before you had to go through CNN or one of the big networks and you only found out what they wanted to tell you. All right. And it wasn't news. It was propaganda. It was infotainment. It was all in service of the capitalist agenda. Yeah, we all bought into the bread and circuses. But I think we've seen an awakening the last 10 years, really. The Bernie stuff, the COVID stuff, the RFK stuff. Oh, God. That opera, that psyop, which was Bernie 2024. I genuinely think that they tried to harness the Bernie movement and energy in 2024. And move. You're freezing. Yeah, your cameras. I hear you. But
okay.
He went from Democrat to independent to almost Republican to almost libertarian to independent to supporting Trump in 18 months.
I know.
In 18 months.
And he took Tulsi with him. Tulsi was on his tail. Yeah. Oh my God.
Remarkable. And
now he's out there telling you autism comes from Tylenol. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy what's happened for sure.
Yeah. Well, he can't yell at Pfizer anymore because Trump made a deal with him and he has to do whatever. And we said this when they gave him the HHS job was that he's going to now have to do all the things that he was against and then say he's doing it because Trump told him to do it. You didn't have to take that job, Booby, right? Like, you didn't have to do that. But beef tallow, right?
They've got sex tapes on him, right? You know that they've got sex tapes on him.
So they have all the blackmail material. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, he's got all the vices, for sure.
And it's like, walk through reality in life with people that don't understand any of this because all they watch is CNN and all they read is the Washington Post and New York Times and walk around thinking they're informed and you're the crazy conspiracy theorist who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Right?
Like, we've listened to the experts that have actually done the thing where you're listening to someone who's paid to tell you what you want to hear. And then there's the move again to Substack the last 5, 6, 7 years where you've seen now, and this year we've seen a major infiltration of corporate media into that platform where everybody is now an independent. So how do we navigate a world where everyone's independent? Even if they're corporate funded, the Free Press just got sold to Paramount, sold as an independent outlet funded by venture capital to the tune of over 100 million. How do we
the mammies, the mainstream alternative media. Right. Now we saw them come in, the likes of Russell Brand. I mean, come on, he went out there. Don't even get me started on him. But we knew who the mainstream alternative media were, but by the funding they have, by the studios that they have. I trust the people like you and I, Indy, that are on a cheap ass Walmart computer with pieced together systems, trying to get the information out there. I think if you have under 15K, I want to listen to what you have to say. But at the end of the day, really, it comes down to longevity of trust. Who do I trust? I trust Whitney Webb. Who do I trust? I trust these people who have been on the ground doing the research for years and years and years. And not only are they doing the research, but they will show you where they got their information so you can verify it yourself, go to the source. How many resources can you find that back up that information? You just have to get vigilant about it. And I think so many of us have. And we rely on,
Yeah, like
The
Ryan
same
at,
people, I think.
Ryan at The Last American Vagabond.
Jeffrey Sachs,
Amazing with his
Ryan
research.
Christian. I love James Corbett.
He's amazing.
God, who else?
Brilliant.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, I mean, True Stream Media. They're another one that have
Love
proven
Melissa.
themselves over the years. I love Melissa. Yeah, I
And
mean,
Aaron, yeah.
you know, we know the ones that have floated to the top of the cream that over the years have proven themselves to do the work, have the research. But then you've got, you know, the bigwigs out there, the professors like Chris Hedges and Jeffrey Sachs and Norman Finkelstein and Gab Marte. You know, these are people I don't necessarily agree with everything they say, but I do follow a good percentage of what they have to say because they're bringing valuable conversations and information. I think, you know,
I think Sachs is like
at a
kind of
level
like
that people are following through.
mainstream media executive representative to the people. Like he's at the Lancet and like he dumbs it down for everyone else to understand, and he's allowed for some reason to say the things like a Mearsheimer. Now Mearsheimer is kicked to the side, but Jeffrey Sachs is invited to the World Economic Forums and the Lancet studies, and even saying what he says, which I
respect him for that.
I do.
Respect him for going into those spaces.
Yes, and telling them exactly like it is. And the fact that he keeps getting invited back says something to me about him. I mean, he's clearly principled. You know, but he, you know, also that he will play the game, obviously, with them because they wouldn't allow him in their circles if he didn't. So I do think about that. But
I do too, with like the likes of Chris Hedges. You know, Chris, he does that too. But you know, I still appreciate a lot of what Chris has had to say, the books that he's wrote, the people that he's reaching. Sometimes you got to kind of dumb yourself down or water it down to reach the masses.
And he's been an advocate for prisoners and Palestinians for decades. Yeah, no, I mean, again, big fan of Hedges, and that's why I created the Indie Media Awards, which was to honor those in independent media that don't get the recognition and the shine. And people ask me all the time, well, who should I be listening to? Who should I be watching? And so that's why I started by making that list of channels, and here's their links to find them. And you know, again, vetted and proven over time to be consistent, to fight for free speech, to fight for healthcare for all, to fight for the principles that got us into this, and we're not always going to be on that, and also not just in it for the money. People need to make money on their channels. We get that. But there's a way to do it where if you do it right, the money comes anyway. Although not to us really that much. We've managed to
not to us
stay
either.
afloat.
I mean, we limp along. We've made $78 in 3 months on YouTube. Like, if it wasn't for our community, our Patreons, they pay our subscription fees, you know, to our studios and to our Restream accounts, those type of things. But personally, we don't make any money off of it, and that was never the goal. And just the fact that it can cover itself is great. But as far as the GoFundMes have kept me going over the years, whether it be for me to travel for an Assange event or a Bernie event, or if it's been for a health matter, because, you know, I've had a couple of different health crises in my family where people have stepped up and helped us with GoFundMes. And so, you know, that has been a lifesaver for me as an independent media person, whatever we call ourselves. You know, I don't call myself a journalist. I don't call myself I don't even know. I would call you an analyst, because you certainly do analyze the news. You know, right?
You're the Trailer Park Pundit. That's pundit would be a good word.
I'm a pundit. Yeah, exactly. I bring you my opinion on stuff, and I try to make you laugh, and either you like my brand of what I do or you don't.
And so again, it's an honor and a pleasure to have this conversation and to go back through all the stuff. And I think a lot of people today who are watching that have woken up the last couple of years, they may not know about all this stuff. That's why I like to go through it. And there is a history, you know, look, history doesn't repeat, but it tends to rhyme. So understanding where we've been and what's been done to the people that have carried this torch beforehand to know what to look out for as the government continues to pull its nonsense, as big corporations continue to pull their censorship crap, to look at how it's been handled in the past and what's been done to people as a playbook, and what playbook are they following, and then again just slightly modifying it, but here's how it was handled in the past, and we don't want to behave necessarily that way if it wasn't successful, so let's come up with a different strategy and leverage that and learn from our past mistakes and from our past experiences, so that we can continue to be successful and fight this mega corporate media machine going forward, so that we can continue to say what we want to say, inform people about what we see happening without being completely censored, marginalized, or stuck into a bell jar and isolated, which is what I think a lot of us kind of feel right now. I certainly feel isolated, that we're in a small little bubble and they don't let us, they don't let our content get out there beyond it. Nope.
No.
Like,
yes.
Just bounce around your little,
they're very controlling.
You know,
boop,
your
boop,
little
boop,
jar.
boop, boop, boop.
And talk to everyone in there.
It's definitely that way on Facebook. It's that way on X. Like, we're not allowed out of our little lane. You're not allowed to cross over, you know. And that was kind of part of why we did what we did with Beauty and the Boomer. We were kind of hoping to kind of skip that lane and get into the next lane like a bowling ball that's been thrown too hard, you know. Like, let's try to jump over into a comedy lane or something. But yeah, they definitely make sure that we don't escape our echo chambers, and really that's the goal. So, you know, as my message please set forth, please try to get out of these echo chambers and reach more people, you know, and do it slowly, little breadcrumbs, you know. Like, don't dump the whole entire conspiracy theory on them at once, you know. Lead them there slowly, I guess is it. And Indy, you guys have done a really great job of that. The Indie Media Awards have been amazing at informing people of where to go to find these people to listen to, directing them to all of the sites. The beautiful graphics that you guys have had done up with the Zago brothers, and we were so honored to be named. Oz and I were in 2023. We can't thank you guys enough, and it's definitely a badge of honor that we wear. We showed at the end of all of our shows and our closing credits, and you know, even for my medical records, I use my Zago picture. I love it, and I know you guys commissioned it, so I thank you guys so much. And I thank you so much for wanting to sit down with me. I haven't done a lot of shows. I'm really tired all the time, and Trailer Park Pundit hasn't. I haven't done one in, I want to say, 2 months now. I've just been too sick the last couple of months, and I'm hoping. I'm not saying it's over. I'm just saying I'll come back once I'm strong enough to do it. But thanks for inviting me on and having me come sit with you and having a chat. It was fun.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. Seriously, my honor, my pleasure. Again, you've been one of the people who has stood up for so many, and we all want to be here and have been here for you, and will continue to be here for you.
You have.
You know, we live supporting independent media, and I hope that others out there will be inspired. Again, that QR code up there is, let me put it up one more time, is for Shanda's, for her GoFundMe. So if you have a couple of bucks, please support Chanda in her journey. You know, treatments are expensive, but also living, you know, she can't work during all of this. So, you know, income, and we talked about how Medicaid is so critical, and how thankfully she lives in a state where she can go get the treatment, but still every dollar counts and every bit helps. Whatever you can do, really, we love you. We appreciate you for doing that, because it does make a big difference.
I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. You know, the love of the independent community has just carried me. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I just don't know where I would have been had I not had this community built around me when this happened. And Indy, you've been so amazing. You and Reef and Care Bear, give everybody my love. I love you guys so much. It makes me happy to see you working, and you work so hard. I see the emails every day, the updates, the info, what you guys are doing over on Substack. Just, You guys are amazing, and keep it up. And I can't thank you guys enough for all your love and support.
We it's the least we can do, really. And again, we love you all. We love you. Thank you to everyone. We're gonna cut out for the night. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. And we will see you real soon, fam. Okay. Night.
I guess this isn't such an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? You prove it's possible to sleep for days, and I still think you're right here away. The cost of living isn't much to me, but God, it's so hard to say. And when we told you everything was safe, were you